There's something oddly satisfying about being a nosy neighbor. It's not that I want to know what's happening in other people's lives, it's just that my apartment has a perfect view of the street below, and honestly, what else am I supposed to do while sipping my third cup of coffee at midnight? Take last night, for example. There I was, minding my own business, sort of, when I saw something that made me almost spit out my overpriced oat milk latte. Loren, my seemingly perfect neighbor, was standing by the curb, waiting for someone. At first, I thought maybe it was her husband, Ben, sweet, clueless Ben, who once helped me assemble a bookshelf and didn't even judge me when I put the shelves in upside down. But nope. The man who pulled up wasn't Ben. He stepped out of the car, tall, dark, and obnoxiously handsome, and gave Loren a hug that lasted just a little too long to be friendly. Then, because apparently my life is now a soap opera, he kissed her. Not a casual peck on the cheek, but a full-on, hands in hair, I've been waiting for this all-day kiss. I nearly dropped my mug. Now, let me clarify, I'm not the type to jump to conclusions. For all I knew, this guy could have been her long-lost cousin, and they're just a very affectionate family. But something about the way she glanced over her shoulder, checking to see if anyone was watching, screamed guilty. Of course, she didn't think to look up. Nobody ever does. After a few more whispered words, which, sadly, I couldn't hear from my third-floor perch, Loren climbed into his car, and they drove off into the night. Here's the thing about witnessing a potential affair, it's like accidentally overhearing a juicy secret at a party. You don't want to know, but now that you do, you can't stop thinking about it. By the time I went to bed, my mind was racing with questions. Who was the guy? How long has this been going on? And most importantly, what the hell was I supposed to do with this information? Because here's the problem, I like Ben. He's kind, funny, and the only person in this building who doesn't steal my Amazon packages. If I told him what I saw, it would shatter him. But if I stayed quiet, I'd be complicit in whatever mess Loren was tangled up in. It was a lose-lose situation, and I hated every second of it. The next morning, I bumped into Ben in the lobby. "Morning, Emma," he said, flashing that bright, boy-next-door smile. He was holding a bouquet of flowers, bright yellow daisies, Lauren's favorite. I swallowed hard, my stomach churning. "Morning, Ben. What's the occasion?" "Oh, no occasion," he said cheerfully. "Just wanted to surprise Loren. She's been working so hard lately. Thought she could use a little pick-me-up." I forced a smile, nodding as my heart sank. "That's sweet of you." "Yeah, she deserves it," he said, his voice full of affection. "Anyway, I'd better get these upstairs before she leaves for work. Have a good day." I watched him walk away, clutching those daisies like they were the key to his happiness, and I felt the weight of the secret settle heavier on my shoulders. If there was one thing I knew for sure, it was this: I was in way over my head. The morning after seeing the kiss, I was still rattled. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, staring out the window like some noir detective pondering a case. Only, instead of a fedora, I was wearing fuzzy socks, and instead of solving a mystery, I was trying to decide whether to blow up my neighbor's life. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my thoughts. It was a text from Lauren, inviting me over for coffee. Of course. Because nothing says innocent like casually asking your neighbor for coffee after you've been caught swapping spit with someone who isn't your husband. 5 minutes later, I was sitting on Lauren's pristine white couch, holding a steaming mug of chai. "You seem distracted," she said, tilting her head and flashing her perfect, toothpaste commercial smile. "Oh, just tired," I lied. "Didn't sleep well?" She nodded sympathetically. "That's been happening to Ben too. He's been so stressed with work lately." I almost choked on my chai. Ben stressed? Maybe because his wife is sneaking around with a guy who probably works at a men's cologne counter. "That's tough," I said, keeping my tone neutral. Lauren leaned back, tucking her legs under her. She looked so relaxed, so at ease, that for a split second, I thought maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe I'd misinterpreted what I saw. Maybe the guy was just her affectionate long-lost brother after all. But then her phone buzzed. Lauren picked it up quickly, her fingers flying across the screen as she typed out a response. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yeah," she said, her voice just a little too light. "Just work stuff." "Work stuff?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "You're on your phone a lot for someone who's stressed about their job." Lauren laughed, but it sounded forced. "You know how it is. Always something coming up." "Sure, Lauren. Always something, or someone." When I got back to my apartment, I paced the living room, trying to decide what to do. Telling Ben still felt like a nuclear option, but keeping quiet didn't sit right either. I called my sister, Rachel, hoping for some guidance. Wait, she said after I explained everything. "You're telling me you saw Loren making out with some guy, and you didn't take a picture?" "That's not the point, Rachel," I snapped. "This isn't TMZ. Emma, come on. You're sitting on a gold mine of drama here. You have to tell Ben. And ruin his life?" I said. "What if I'm wrong? What if there's an explanation?" "Like what?" Rachel asked. "She's rehearsing for a play called How to Cheat on Your Husband Without Getting Caught." "Helpful as always," I muttered, hanging up. That evening, as I took out the trash, I ran into Ben again. He was coming back from the gym, looking annoyingly chipper for someone who'd just worked out. "Hey, Emma," he said, smiling. "How's your day going?" "Oh, I said, shrugging. "Same old. Lauren mentioned you stopped by for coffee," he said. "She loves spending time with you." I winced internally. "Yeah, she's great." Ben looked at me, his brow furrowing slightly. "Are you okay? You seem off." For a second, I considered telling him everything. But then I saw the way his face lit up when he talked about her, the way he carried himself with so much confidence in their marriage. I couldn't do it. "Not yet. Just tired," I said, forcing a smile. "Long day?" Ben nodded, giving me a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Well, get some rest. You deserve it." As he walked away, I felt the knot in my stomach tighten. Because if anyone deserved better, it was him. The next few days were a mess of overthinking and bad decisions. Every time I saw Ben or Lauren, my guilt grew heavier. Every time I looked out my window, I half expected to see her climbing into that guy's car again. But nothing happened. Just the usual, Ben being his annoyingly sweet self, Lauren waving at me like she wasn't harboring a massive secret, and me spiraling into my amateur soap opera detective routine. By the time Friday rolled around, I was desperate for a distraction. So when Ben knocked on my door and invited me to join them for a game night, I said yes, because apparently, I enjoy torturing myself. Game night started innocently enough. It was me, Ben, Lauren, and another couple from the building, Jess and Tyler. We played charades, ate chips, and pretended we weren't all silently judging each other's miming skills. Lauren was in full hostess mode, laughing at Ben's dumb jokes and draping herself across his arm like she was auditioning for Wife of the Year. If I hadn't seen what I'd seen, I might have actually believed it. Then it happened. Ben was in the kitchen refilling drinks, Jess and Tyler were arguing about the rules of Pictionary, and Lauren's phone buzzed on the coffee table. She froze. Just for a second. Then she grabbed it and turned it face down so fast you'd think it was about to explode. "Everything okay?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "Yeah," she said, her smile a little too bright. "Just work stuff." "Work seems to keep you busy," I said casually. "Even late at night." Her eyes flicked to mine, just for a moment, and I swear I saw a flash of panic before she laughed. "You know how it is." Before I could say anything else, Ben walked back in, holding a tray of drinks and completely oblivious to the tension in the room. "Who's ready for round two?" he asked, grinning. "Oh, I'm ready," I muttered, glaring at Lauren. After game night ended, I lingered behind as everyone else left. Ben was cleaning up, humming to himself, while Lauren disappeared into the bedroom. "Hey," I said, leaning against the counter. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure," Ben said, looking up from the sink. "How's Lauren been lately?" He frowned, setting down a glass. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," I said, shrugging. "She just seems distracted." Ben chuckled. "That's just Lauren. She's always juggling a million things at once. Work's been a little crazy, but she's handling it like a champ." I nodded, biting back the urge to scream, "No, Ben, she's not handling it. She's sneaking around with Mr. Mystery Beard, and you're too nice to see it." Instead, I just said, "That's good. I'm glad she's doing okay." Ben smiled. "Yeah, me too." As I walked back to my apartment, I felt the guilt clawing at me again. But this time, it was joined by something else, anger. Not just at Lauren, but at myself. Because the longer I kept this secret, the worse it was going to hurt when the truth finally came out. By the weekend, I'd had enough. The guilt, the secrets, the awkward game night where Lauren acted like nothing was wrong, it was all eating me alive. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine while Ben walked around with that stupid, hopeful smile on his face. But even as I rehearsed what I would say, I kept hesitating. What if I was wrong? What if this all blew up in my face? Then Saturday night happened, and all my doubts went straight out the window. I was sitting on my couch, binge-watching some forgettable crime drama, when I heard a knock at the door. It was Jess, looking flustered and holding a pizza box. "Emma, you need to come downstairs," she said, her voice low and urgent. "What? Why?" I asked, pausing the TV. "Just trust me. Bring your phone." That's never a good sign. Jess led me to the building's side entrance, where we had a clear view of the parking lot. "There," she whispered, pointing. At first, I didn't see anything unusual. Just a few cars, a street lamp flickering overhead, and, oh, Lauren. She was standing next to a black SUV, talking to a man I instantly recognized as Mystery Beard. They were close, too close, and the way he touched her arm made my stomach turn. Then it happened. Lauren leaned in and kissed him. I felt my blood run cold. It wasn't a friendly peck or a casual goodbye. It was passionate, deliberate, the kind of kiss that left no room for interpretation. Jess turned to me, her eyebrows raised. "So, what are you going to do about that?" Back in my apartment, I paced the floor, my heart racing. This wasn't just a hunch anymore. It wasn't late-night paranoia or misinterpreted gestures. It was real, undeniable, and happening right in front of me. I grabbed my phone, my thumb hovering over Ben's contact. I had to tell him. He deserved to know. But then I hesitated. What if he didn't believe me? What if this destroyed him? What if I lost him as a friend because I stuck my nose where it didn't belong? I dropped the phone onto the couch, groaning in frustration. The next morning, I woke up to a knock on my door. This time, it was Lauren. "Hey," she said brightly, holding a tray of coffees. "Thought you might like one." I stared at her, my jaw tightening. "Why are you here, Lauren?" Her smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "I just wanted to say hi." "No, really," I said, crossing my arms. "What do you want?" Lauren's eyes darted to the side, her fingers tightening on the tray. "Emma, did you see something last night?" My stomach dropped. "What makes you think that?" She sighed, stepping inside and closing the door behind her. "Jess saw me with Jason, didn't she?" "Jason?" I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, Jason. Is that Mystery Beard's name?" Lauren winced. "It's not what you think." "Stop," I snapped, cutting her off. "Don't insult me by pretending this is innocent. I saw you, Lauren. I saw you with him." Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she might actually cry. But instead, she squared her shoulders and said, "It's complicated." I laughed bitterly. Complicated? No, Lauren, complicated is trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. This is betrayal. Lauren's voice wavered as she tried to explain. Jason and we have history. He was my college boyfriend, and when things got tough with Ben, I reached out. It was a mistake. I know that. But I don't know how to end it. Here's a thought, I said, glaring at her. Maybe stop kissing him in parking lots? Emma, please, she begged. You can't tell Ben. He doesn't deserve this. Let me fix it on my own. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. She was asking me to keep quiet, to carry her secret while she figured out how to untangle herself from the mess she'd created. And for the first time, I realized Lauren wasn't scared of losing Ben. She was scared of facing the consequences of her own actions. I shook my head, my voice steady. You don't get to make that decision, Lauren. Ben deserves to know the truth. Her eyes filled with tears. Please, Emma. I'll end it with Jason. I promise. Just, give me time. I stared at her, my anger warring with guilt. You have 24 hours, I said finally. If you don't tell him, I will. The next 24 hours felt like an eternity. Every time I walked past Ben and Lauren's apartment, I held my breath, wondering if she'd done it yet. I pictured her sitting him down, confessing through tears, and maybe, just maybe, working things out. But deep down, I knew better. Lauren wasn't the type to face problems head-on. She was the type to sweep them under the rug and hope no one noticed the lump. By the time the deadline came, I knew what I had to do. I knocked on their door that evening, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack a rib. Ben opened it, grinning like always. Hey, Emma. What's up? Can we talk? I asked, my voice tight. Just you and me. His smile faltered. Sure. Is everything okay? No, I said, stepping inside. Not really. Lauren appeared in the hallway, her face draining of color when she saw me. Emma, she said quickly, her voice tinged with warning. What are you? Don't, I cut her off. You had your chance, Lauren. Now it's his turn. Ben looked between us, his brow furrowing. What's going on? I turned to him, my hands shaking. Ben, there's something you need to know. And it's not going to be easy to hear. Lauren tried to interrupt, but I ignored her, my gaze locked on Ben. Slowly, carefully, I told him everything, the parking lot, the kiss, the excuses Lauren had fed me. I left nothing out. By the time I finished, Ben's face was a mask of disbelief. Is this true? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper as he turned to Lauren. She opened her mouth, then closed it, her shoulders slumping in defeat. Yes, she said finally. It's true. The room went silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the fallout. How long? Ben asked, his tone dangerously calm. Just a few months, Lauren said, tears streaming down her face. I never meant for it to go this far. Stop, Ben said sharply, cutting her off. I don't want to hear excuses. For a moment, I thought he might lash out, yell, throw something, do something to vent the storm of emotions swirling behind his eyes. But instead, he just stood there, staring at her like she was a stranger. Then he turned to me. Thank you, he said quietly. For telling me. I nodded, feeling a lump rise in my throat. I'm sorry, Ben. I really am. He gave me a sad smile. It's not your fault. With that, he walked past Lauren and into their bedroom, closing the door behind him. Lauren sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. You've ruined everything, she whispered. No, I said, my voice steady. You did that all by yourself. The next day, Ben came to my apartment with a suitcase in hand. He was leaving, staying with a friend while he figured out his next steps. "I don't know what I'm going to do yet," he admitted, his voice heavy. "But I know I can't stay here." I nodded, my chest aching for him. "If you need anything, I'm here." "Thanks, Emma," he said, giving me a small, grateful smile. "For everything." As I watched him walk away, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I'd done the right thing, but it didn't feel like a victory. Sometimes, the truth doesn't set you free, it just breaks the chains in a way that leaves you raw and exposed. And while I couldn't fix what had been broken, I could at least say one thing with certainty. Ben deserved better. Subscribe to never miss a new story and discover even more captivating tales.